We begin with breaking news. The head of Canada's COVID-19 vaccine rollout has left his assignment pending the results of a military investigation. The Department of National Defence and the Canadian Armed Forces announced the news in a statement just moments ago. Acting Chief of Defence Staff, Lieutenant General Ayer, will be reviewing next steps. Let's bring in CTV News political commentator Scott Reid. Scott, thanks a lot for jumping in on this. So, you heard what I've announced there. What more do we know here, or do we know any more?
We literally do not know anything more than this. So we don't know what context to place this in. We know, obviously, that there have been other high-profile resignations within the armed forces. We know there's been turnover at the top levels of the armed forces. We know that there's been a formal inquiry into sexual misconduct and how that permeates the culture of the armed forces. We do not know if that bears any relation whatsoever to this matter with Major General Fortin. There's no specific reference in the announcement as to what the allegations might be, what the investigation might be about. So it's very, very difficult for us to make any kind of conclusion whatsoever.
Yeah, and we're not, I mean, and this all sort of coming on a Friday evening as well. So it's all just, you know, very, very fluid right now. We haven't heard anything from the Prime Minister on this, so we'll keep a close eye on that. But this also coming as some new appointments today, including, as you mentioned, their new promotions and appointments. So in terms of the timing, does that have anything to do with Fortin's status, or is it just really unrelated? I mean, I guess we're all sort of sitting here scratching our heads on this.
I doubt it's unrelated.
Okay.
I mean, I really can't paint for you a full picture of what this means and what's behind all of this, but I don't think it's unrelated. It seems to me that if you're going to have a flurry of announcements with respect to the senior management of the armed forces on the same day, that's followed by this resignation, news that there is some sort of investigation. My guess is that these are deliberate announcements, that there is a strategy to manage this information. But again, it wouldn't be responsible to make too many assumptions or to speculate too broadly as to what the nature of all this is. So what we do know is it's an important and significant blow to the government's efforts to demonstrate that they're taking hold of the armed forces, that they're cleaning up the culture, that they're leading the charge when it comes to turning around decades of challenge. This is not what they wanted. This is yet another setback. This is yet another senior, identifiable military leader who's having to step aside from a high-profile post.
Yeah, and we know that Acting Chief of Defence Staff, Lieutenant General Ayer, is going to be reviewing next steps. But of course, the question does come. We're in the middle of this pandemic. We've got the vaccine rollout that's happening here. Where does this leave the status of the vaccines and the second dose rollout?
So this is where I want to really put the emphasis. And, you know, the government, having worked in a prime minister's office, I can tell you that you don't randomly place your confidence as a prime minister's office in the hands of senior military officers when it comes to public communication, when it comes to a high-profile public rollout. You know, they had confidence in Major General Fortin, the Prime Minister's office. He was one of the key faces of the vaccine rollout effort. He was involved in the effort to manage long-term care homes. He was point man when it came to vaccine rollout. He was involved in the weekly and sometimes more than weekly briefings. So this is going to alter that process. Do I think it will set back the pace of vaccine rollout? Hopefully not. I doubt it. But it's an interruption in the public communication and the consistency of the communication as to what we're doing, how we're doing it, and how close to the finish line we are.